Hello and welcome, as today's date comes in the conclusion of the second day of December 2019. My name is Derek, and like always, all bets, trades of the like, that is within each's own risk and their own reward. Going over silver and then Bitcoin. So these are the most recent lows in the silver markets from the last highs, and from those last highs, the highs thereafter that are here, and I'm not going to draw the rest of it yet because highs and lows are known after the fact. So maybe even this might not be the low, but it has been, of course, a trend of lower highs and lower lows, but pretty much, I don't know if you want to call it a little bit sideways, but no, certainly in a downtrend. The action of price remains in this more shorter term sideways consolidation pattern, which has been the result of the play amongst the few days decline from the 18 down to 16.5 level that occurred about 1 month ago. To me, as I look at it long term, I've said this many times before, but if I was ever to be in a situation where I had to put one asset class only and a safe that was forced to be locked for 2 years, 5 years, and most certainly 10 years and 15, that silver with gold becoming most certainly the honorable mention after that, being all that I could put in there. I couldn't put any private keys for any cryptocurrencies because I don't see that anywhere near as that close to a guarantee or high enough to be 98, 99% probable to hold an okay amount of value at least. Whereas gold and silver, I see, fiat currencies, put the paper rectangles in there. Either way, no matter which one I would keep in there, I'm secure. Whichever amount that I would have, I'd still have. Meaning, if I had, say, 1,000 ounces of silver, well, I'd have 1,000 ounces of silver when I open it. If I, say, had 10 Bitcoin or however many it might be, 5 Bitcoin, I'd still have the 5 Bitcoin. And if I had, say, 100,000 US dollars, I'd still have those 100,000 in paper rectangles, yada, yada, for that kind of stuff. But the volatility that you get from these markets, obviously not as large. The probability for gains that you can get in precious metals over Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, nowhere near as big. So as far as where we stand right now in this here, not much going on. And really Bitcoin having a lot of the similar type of stuff as far as, well, it had this high here back in September for Bitcoin. Its most recent high was a little before then, as we would be going back to June the 26th, when it got above that 12,856 twice hit level of Fibonacci resistance. It almost got there, majorly piercing below on August the 5th. Now, I don't count that as, normally they pierce extra. This is like a third try. That kind of doesn't count. But it was noticeable when it had its lower high, and then it came back to where it came from. The amount of times at 98.14, which was not resistance on the way up, but oh boy, was it ever support several times. I'd like to say too many times to count, but too many times to count in less than 5 seconds? I don't know. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, yada, yada, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a lot. And then you had this interesting failed breakdown, failed all that type of stuff, the failed breakdown, failed rally, failed breakout, I suppose, which did a poor job in holding on the 18 average of lows in the second week of November. But more importantly, it did a poor job in holding where it needed to hold, which was like the 88,000 low area. Now price action, since falling below that level at 8,000, hasn't seen it since. And now as we take a look at it, it's just hanging in there within the 18. And as I stated in here, as far as this resistance, I was not expecting it to keep going higher from this point. And well, it didn't. But now the question is it able to, after a short-term decline like this, establish something to go through? But for that to happen, I need to see price get above the 18 average of highs, which is, we'll call it the slot machine, 77.77. Getting above that right now, then it's an attempt to do such. But as it stands, we've now got this 18 average of lows for the last few days. A couple of days have been big around the 7,200 area. So far, it's been holding it, but if it fails to do so, breaking down, I'm looking at a fast move down to 6,500. I'm not expecting it to do that good in support, meaning not supporting it for just like a sideways consolidation, maybe rallying to 68 or even up to 7,000, whatever, then eventually pulling back, because as I state, on a first hit to key levels, or at least in a key amount of time, I expect pierce extras, sort of like I was stating in here. It pierced extra here. Obviously, on the way down, it did as well on this level of support. On this rally here, it pierced higher. And on this support, it didn't. But if it has the result of making a lower high to the 18 and then leaving it to the downside and breaking low, well, those are known after the fact. And that would state, okay, that's not the key low from point high of this level to whatever the key low happens to be right now. It's in at about 65. If the price has a significant break higher, well, then that will be it. Again, highs and lows known after the fact. We'll finish off within short-term and long-term analyses as from that low that we talk about at the 6,500 area, it had many levels of resistance before and after the fact of those lows. Pretty much an inverted head and shoulders pattern in here, which had a half-assed rally, piddly-ass move. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breaking of resistance, and only one leg higher from this one. Yeah, yada, yada. Nothing good. Actually, it's pretty poor. But that's okay when you do that. It's just as long as it holds and stays above this key level, which it's technically doing right now. It's supporting deeper within where it came from. But it still needs to have a decent move short term in this little area here, about 75.20 to even attempt to get into the that 77 area in here, which would make things very interesting. And really, when I say 77, really, I think 79 is where this thing would get very, very interesting if it gets above it. But you still need to see it in this area here. Now, as it stands, this current period with 2 hours and 20 minutes left, which is only 40 minutes into it, is showing some interesting situations here. So short term, I'm going to just go right to the let's go 15 minute and see what the story is. Yeah, so you have a spot where we have short term, this resistance in here, 3 times hit, we'll call it, because it was hit in here. You can even say 4 here, but whatever. 5 o'clock in the morning, this morning, it hit it. And then again at 9 in the morning earlier this afternoon, that's 1,500, 5 hours. 1,700 hours, 5:30 p.m. And this period here, a noticeable break volume, as you would expect. Actually, it could be bigger, but it's expected when you have significant size moves that it's bigger than it preceded, such like that, which it is, but should be no surprise. So now I'm expecting it to make a move towards this previous level in here, so it should go a little further short term. 74.14 up to 74.71, of course. As you're watching this, that should have been long after the fact towards such. But 1 minute time frame, this started going off at 1932. Right now it's 1937, so 5 minutes ago. This thing started its move. So when you have a short-term situation like this, one of the key things is just Fibonacci. That's the easiest one for me. Take the lows. I'm going to take these breakout lows of exactly 7,000. I'm not going to calculate it, but it's 7,292. 7292 to whatever the highest happen to be right now. They're in at 7,400. So if this move is over here, it has to hold that 61.8% move. And then, of course, on decent moves, I'm looking for 23.6 and 38.2% corrections and how it adjusts to each point after the fact as well. I suppose what I could do is I could put a Fibonacci upside calculation in, because we've already had a decent bit of a short-term correction on here. So what I like to do here is I like to take whatever the 61.8% correction is at this point. So 72.92 and 7,400 even. I'm going to bring up my calculator. And the 31.8 is 73.33. And this is just so short-term analysis at this stage. I'd be looking for a short-term break of this resistance to probably go closer to 74.50 than 74.40, but pierce above 74.42. And that's, of course, and it looked like it could happen in the next few minutes maybe, but whatever. So something you could check to see. We'll see how well if it works out. And then if it doesn't resist there, then watch out. Maybe we'd be talking about having a good gain to like 76, 77 pretty fast. That's, of course, on the break of this resistance. And the big must hold area, then I think it would have been the level in here, 73 and a third. That is the must hold level for this rally that has just come into play. Okay, long-term analysis. And as it plays out, we have this high, we have this low, and I try to draw another one, box series. So 2 key levels right now as it stands. Now before that, obviously all the highs before that are lower. Well, this is lower from here, thus we've been making higher highs. And the lows before that, it's okay, well, I guess we've got to pick this last one in here. So technically speaking, although I won't be too happy if it goes there, if the situation comes into play, really the must hold area is around here based on the fact of this low to this high. Meaning, if this high, which is like within the bigger trends, just in between, symmetrical, I guess, it's lower than the previous one. Okay, so be it. But if this is lower and this becomes an area down here where it goes to, well, that's going to be part of a more intermediate reverse of the trend. Of course, the long-term trend has been higher, and sometimes from major key points, you're going to have significant lower highs and lows. For example, back in here, there were many lower highs and lows from this $1,000 high to the low below $200. That's another way of pointing that out. And in that, if this is a high and you start to retrace lower, then maybe you find support. Oftentimes, I'm going to say it's going to be very difficult, but it had a very large rally that I would first expect support at a higher low level, 53, 54 in this area here. But as like this point, well, I mean, it could be like higher too, but I'd be more likely that I think there's a better chance we'd find support here before we would even get there. But if we don't find support here, then I think there's a decent chance we will again at 32. Whether it finds good support, meaning a key low, that becomes the next question. And if we end up breaking that low, coming back down to this longer term area we've never came back to before, which is around 1,000, there's going to be a lot of pessimism in it, and it's really the last chance of survival, I think would be one way of putting it. Because as far as point A, point B, however you want to name it, comes through, if a market were to do something in the area of, say, coming down, like, say, to this, and then you end up having maybe something like this happen, that wouldn't be a surprise. Thus, come back to an area, retrace, however long and however way the retracement back comes into play, whatever. Because it doesn't matter the mannerisms of a particular up or downtrend as long as it's in such of just that, the up or the downtrend that you are looking for. But if it comes down here, I'm going to be like, well, it could happen, this could happen, and this could be the end of Bitcoin. If it's the end of Bitcoin, well, then we just keep on going lower than that. Like I stated on the outset, to me, silver to me is the best, surest thing to a lock, I could think. As best I can say it, I hate to use that term, especially someone who's been in the gambling field pretty much my entire life, and I've learned when I was in my early 20s that the word lock is like a bad word. Guarantee, oh, I hate those words, but you know, it's as close to it as I can get. And I think the survival for Bitcoin going in the future is much, much, much larger than 50%. But not 100 or not 99%. All right, then. That's the conclusion of the charts for the markets. And as I've been transitioning in, I've had a lot of fun recently within fantasy sports, but in particular fantasy hockey. If you're interested in fantasy help, fantasy advice, let me know. I've been wanting to, thinking, I don't know if I really want to. As far as putting daily information, as far as just whatever daily fantasy advice, but again, I don't think there's much of a demand for that. But so far, over my last close to 1,700 paid contests, which I can do over 100 in a day, easy. This is the net results overall, so over 400 over that much time. But I got a net goal to make 10,000 during the NHL season, and right now, I'm almost at that 10% mark. If I can make $60 today, and I got more than that at stake, if I had 2x it, I'm going to be, right now I got about 65 at stake, and I'm going to probably put at least another 10, 12 more in, depending on the new games that become available. And what I like about it is going through just different calculations and different types of statistics that work very, very good, that I believe gives me a superior edge. And so far, the results have shown that so far. So as it's worth, I'm checking the markets, Bitcoin, all that type of stuff, about 3 times a day. Once to start the day, if there's anything we're trading, and lately there hasn't been much going on there anyway, then I'll make the trade. Middle of the day, which has pretty much been right around now, and then at the end of the day, if there is anything available. But crypto trading doesn't take much time at all. You literally just look at the numbers, calculate them, see if there's anything going on. If there's nothing, you're done. Maybe you just want to take a look and whatever, but I'll just let the numbers come to play and then react to them as they go in, as far as ratio trading is concerned. And something happens. The market's got a big up move or something. One of my key coins is having a good move. Then I'm going to adjust to the situation. And this has worked out well, because the last time I profit took any sort of cryptocurrencies, I ended up buying some gold and silver. I just near this market high in here, because as I've been stating, 18 average of highs, probably a shot of resistance, and it was just a spot where I need to get some anyway. Which, by the way, I've already received it. They came in the mail today, which is awesome. As I received 6 grams of gold and 6 ounces of silver, and before then, it was breaking down below the 18 average in the early part of November. I'm like, it sucks. I was kind of hoping to do it on an up move. I guess there's 2 ways I can sell. One, because I think it's going to go down, which was the case in here, and unfortunately that's been the case. Or because it's at a great sell level because the market's going higher. And there hasn't been as many of those, of course, with the declines. But the one thing about gambling, and the markets, they don't care if you win, you lose, and that's the whole point of gambling in itself, as far as, well, basically where the money comes from and all the games. Games can be carny-like when you're talking about gambling. They most certainly can be filled with a lot of rake. And when they say, the casino, the house always wins, well, of course they're going to set that up. Why wouldn't they? But in the realm of gambling, there is one code that works with me, and it should work with almost every gambler, at least I hope it does, is that price pays. And when you win, you get paid. And when you lose, you pay the man, or you pay the person, you pay the piper. And thus, I would rather not withdraw from cryptocurrencies. And this gives me the advantage to be able to do so here, especially with cryptos going down. And, well, I asked for some fiat. They paid me their fiat. And something that has never happened to me is when I've asked, whichever realm it was from, to get paid from a gambling debt, to not get it. I've gotten every single gambling debt that I've won, at least since over the last 20 plus years or whatever. Every gambling debt that I've won, I've received. Every gambling debt that I've had to pay, I've paid. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.